Will you let me know to start? Hi, good evening. My name is Mudipe Durasmieti. I am the program manager of ARM Labs. I'd like to welcome you to the 5th edition of the ARM Labs Innovation Program. We're going to wait a couple of minutes to get our virtual visitors sorted so that they can come online and join the program. All right. So while we're waiting, how is your day going? I hope everybody's ready and excited to hear about our upcoming founders. Go Nomad, Wano, Periculum, Arich, Farmers First. It's been an interesting 6 weeks, and I'm looking forward to hearing how these guys have fared. I'd like to also invite our backbenchers to please come forward. There are still seats available in front. Please do come forward. We would love to have you in front to participate. Don't be shy. Let's go forward. The young lady in the orange, please come forward. Jacqueline, please come forward. The gentleman in the white trad and white hat, please come forward. Please come forward and sit down. We'd love to have you in front. Thank you very much. The young gentleman in the red and black plaid shirt, please come forward. Thank you. Oh, Munir, please forward. There's a seat right out here for you. TD saved you a seat. Lo and behold. All right, we're gonna spend a minute looking at what ARM has been up to the past couple of years. Please enjoy. All right. ARM has spent the past 2 decades transforming lives and our future. So we're going to kick off this event. Our welcome address is being said by our Deputy Group CEO, Mr. Sadiq Mohammed. I'd like to welcome you to the stage, please, to kick off the event. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the 5th cohort of the ARM Labs Innovation Program 5.0. It's been a long journey for ARM in terms of this space. And today, we believe the more that it was a good decision to venture into this area. Today we have about 3 programs and counting in the innovation space. Starting with a basic one, which was data, the Jolly Young Talent Award, which was looking at just generally innovation irrespective of the sector, in honor of Dejali, the founder and the first CEO of ARM, who stepped aside in 2015. The second one being this program, which has undergone some overhaul over the last 5 cohorts as we try to improve on a continuing basis. The third being the Techstars, the partnership with Techstars, the Techstars, ARM Techstars program. And also we're looking at even internal innovation at an individual level, not necessarily at the team level. The reason why I say that it's for teachers to be in this area today is with all the things that are happening, from the basic robotic process automation to AI, and so on and so forth. I mean, we're going to listen to the the industry mentor about trends in this space. Basically, I think what is happening affects our business in 2 ways. And that's why I said we believe the more, and we're more committed to this today. The first being basically as an asset class, providing it to our clients and potential clients as an asset class, so that you diversify, you're part of this growth. Who knows? One of this the startups in this cohort may become one of the big players in the continent. The second one being innovation. We believe that every business will be disrupted, as we've seen happening across the board, especially the likes of, I mean, in our business, asset management part of it. The stockbroking already is becoming a lot more automated. People can trade directly. And that's the second reason why we thought we should have, apart from internal innovation, also external innovation being brought in and domiciled into our fold. So I believe is an interesting area. We'll continue to do more for those reasons I've highlighted. So I invite you to listen to both TD and Ina, and then eventually the most important people of the day is your day, and all the investors are there, from ARM clients to angel investors, VC investors, and all other types of investors. And I reckon also other people that are aspiring to be like you are also listening online as they join and craft their ideas with the hope of joining maybe the 6.0 episode next year. So I invite you to sit down and then also get ready with your mobile apps, hopefully, to even commit as much as is possible. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Sadiq. We really appreciate it. So we're going to move on to learning more about the African early stage investment landscapes from TD, Mr. Tommy Davis, who is the collaborator-in-chief of TVC Labs and our partner. TD, please, we welcome you on stage.
Wow. Okay. Room's full. First, I want to make an apology that I didn't have enough time to actually make this speech shorter than it is. So please bear with me on that. There are a couple of slides I want to share, and I'll ask them to be shared as I go along. If you want to put the opening slide, right, just leave it there for now. Okay, let's see what I can do in the few minutes that I've been given. Okay, because I've been asked to talk about the African early stage investment landscape, but I actually prefer the ecosystem because those are the people I work with. So that's sort of the first thing. But this fast growing ecosystem actually has a number of diverse set of players who contribute to its growth and development in different ways. And let me see if I can thumbnail sketch who those are and what's happening with them, which is what I was asked to do. First is, what's the big deal? Well, it's the growth rate. When we started in 2015, which was the first time we started taking numbers, I think we were at about 100 million. Okay. And on the subject of numbers, okay, let me share with you, first of all, for last year, Big Deal, which is one of the people collecting numbers, says African startups raised 4.8 billion. So you can imagine from 180 million to 4.8 billion. That's why everybody is looking at us. Okay, when we're just at 180, 200 million, it was like, and so what? Now you're in the billions all of a sudden. People want to know what's going on. But they say 4.8. You then go to someone like my dear friend, Disrupt Africa, and he puts the number 3.3 billion. Where they disagree is the number of transactions. One had 600, another had 1,000. The reason I'm bringing it up, next slide, is, you know, you can ignore the numbers, but just look at the trajectory. This is what was happening. Look at 2019, look at 2020, 21. Okay, look at 22. You can see that growth trajectory. By the way, the difference in black and blue is what we call mega deals. So there's some deals with the unicorns, like everybody remembers this Paystack $200 million. That's a mega deal. Okay, as opposed to our TD just give us 5K. That's one of the, that's one of the small transactions, if it even registers over there. But the key thing is this growth. That's what's attracted everybody's attention. And if you can just imagine going further down, okay, it was right down there. So it's not unlike your startup growth curve that, you know, takes the hockey stick. So that's sort of to set the context. If you look, we're down a bit on the year. In fact, I had them look at the numbers and we've dropped by near 50%. Okay. But that's global. That's something that's happening globally. And of that 4 billion, here's the thing. Your industry takes the most significant chunk of it. In fact, if you look at the unicorns created, next slide, look at that. These are the unicorns we have. We have what? 6 unicorns. How many are fintech? Look, fintech. You get the idea. Why? Because we have a significantly unbanked population. And that's where that has come from. Okay. Now, having said that, thank you very much. Despite the optimism, challenges abound, including regulatory hurdles, political instability, and access to skilled talent as they migrate to the West in droves in what we call what? And that is affecting everybody, okay? From startup to corporates that are over 100 years old, everybody is affected. That's the reality. Now, I did say I was going to talk about the players that are dealing with startups in the industry. Okay, I'll leave the startups alone. They go pitch and, you know, but I'm going to start selfishly. I'll start with my own group of people. All right. Angels are the first group. Angel investors who tend to be high net worth individuals from corporate professional services or entrepreneurial backgrounds, and they provide knowledge, social, and financial capital to startups in exchange for debt, equity, or as already nowadays, SAFE, which is neither debt nor equity. It's a convertible, but it's not really convertible debt. But, we have to go with the flow. Safes are safes. Okay. Now, angels typically invest our own money in the very early stages, and we're willing to take risks the larger, later stage investors avoid. African angels are mostly local, okay, and city-centered. And the Africa diaspora living abroad are starting to co-invest with them in startups back home. And besides providing capital, are also offering startups international business knowledge and access to networks. If you look at an example, 2018, Rising Tide, one of us and ourselves invested in a company called Migo. Now, Migo, which was formerly then it was called Minds.io, just raised a $20 million Series B round. That means as of 2023, we're at, in my case, I'm at 14x of my initial investment. Rising Tide, they're at 9x because they came after me. But, you get the idea. Is angels are looking at multiples. That's how we think. If you can't talk in multiples, okay, I know the big boys talk in percentiles. Okay, yeah, we can guarantee you 6% for the next 10 years or guarantee you 4%. We talk about 4x or 5x in 5 years. That's one of the fundamental differences, that is happening. Then we have VCs, venture capital. All right. Now they provide capital to startups, again, in exchange for data, well, typically. And the big difference between VCs and ourselves is the fact that VCs are invested aggregated funds. They're professionals who are being paid to invest. That is one big difference. That is the main difference. Is when I'm saying I'm negotiating with you is because I'm thinking about how much I have left in my savings account. Okay. When a VC is negotiating with you, they're thinking how much their LPs have put into their fund. So two different sources of funding means the behaviors are different. And that's what is the major difference between. But then when we talk about that, VCs are the most significant investors in startups on the continent, bar none. I don't care, I'll mention private equity in a second, but they're not in the game because too early, too risky. Angels, yes, we contribute, but we're a fraction of what aggregated funds can come and play to. So that's why VCs are the single most important component of the funding environment for the ecosystem. Right. Now, there you go. Thank you. So if you look, this is this year. Okay. So far, total funding, 1.9 billion. Over 500 deals. And angels are exiting. And these are documented exits. Okay. There are undocumented. So if you have an oversubscribed round where somebody just decides to flog their shares to those who have oversubscribed it doesn't record, on this. But here's the key thing. Look at this. Fintech percent share of total funding. Here, it is 57%. Over half the money coming in is going to fintechs. That's what I was talking about. You can see the dynamic. But the good news is because of that, more money is coming. So they're getting a larger percentage, but the funds itself are increasing. We've gone, like I said, 3 years ago, we've hit 1 billion. Now we're at 3-4 billion, and everybody's saying, hey, when are you guys going to get to 10? See trouble. Right. So now, who are the other players? Well, look at this. Hubs and innovation. And look who's number one. This is first half of 2023. The most prolific. Thank you. These guys, because they've been hanging out with you, you think you're the only one. They've given 30 people money already. This Bobo is giving 30 people money already. Eh? You can see most prolific, number one. That's what we're talking about here. But it is processes like this, okay, that allows the engagement. And this is a unique program because it allows the engagement of the corporate world with the next world. And it's where I started my journey. If you are interested in understanding what I mean, when we started out this whole internet thing, I contributed and we wrote a book called Clicks and Mortar. The concept was the old and the new. Mortar being the old, okay, already built up, and clicks being the digital new. And that is what is happening through this program, is that integration where the new startups are learning from the old, okay? Because I'm going to break a Yoruba proverb that says, I don't care how many clothes you have, you can never, ever have as many rags as your parents. You get the joke, okay? The idea being, all right, people with experience will always have something to offer. And I hope you guys found that to be the case, okay? You may not always think it as relevant, but trust me, you get somewhere and you just remember, oh yeah, he did say, and that's when the light bulb actually goes on. So innovation hubs are a big deal. And last, I wanted to talk about government because they're also part of this. And we've been privileged that we managed last year, thanks to a gentleman by the name of Oswald Gobadia. We got the National Startup Act passed. And why is that such a big deal? Because essentially, until last year when that act was signed, everything I was doing didn't exist. The concept of angel investment was not known to law. So there you go. Now, I would be remiss if I left this stage without making a few comments about the program itself and what it means. Because the idea, all right, is not just another accelerator for just another set of startups. Okay? The idea is more fundamental. And it is twofold. First, for those of you who are managers within ARM, okay, some of us believe that you live in a, what do they call that, cocoon? You live in your own little bubble, okay? You're cocooned, you're protected, okay? And this is one way of sharing with you what is happening outside of your purview. That's why we involved the ARM senior management team in the process. We also brought in external experts for that reason, so that there can be an exchange of ideas. That's what innovation is all about. That's why it's digital innovation. Ina's going to talk about it in more detail. But I just thought I'd share, okay, the fact that, as usual, ARM is breaking new ground, and they're doing it with style. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, TD. You have definitely made an impact in the ecosystem for the past, I don't know, decades. And we definitely would continue learning from you as time goes on. Up next, I'd like to invite the head of the Director of Digital Transformation, Mr. Ina Alogu.
Right. It's been an exciting 6 weeks. And the startups will come and talk, the founders of the startups will come and talk about their value propositions in a moment. But I wanted to talk to you about ARM Labs. Most people know what ARM is, okay? And people have heard about ARM pensions, ARM investment managers, but the question I typically usually get is, what is ARM Labs? And why is ARM creating a vehicle called ARM Labs? And I'm hoping over the next 10 minutes, it will become much clearer to you. Once again, my name is Ina Alogu. I am the Director of Digital Transformation at ARM Holding Company, but I also play the role of Program Director for the ARM Labs Innovation Program. As I said, we've had an exciting 6 weeks with the 5 startups that have been with us. But let's talk about the vehicle and really what vision is driving what ARM is doing through the brand called ARM Labs. So if I were to summarize the objectives of ARM Labs in terms of what ARM is trying to achieve into 3 pillars, it would be 1, obviously, the reason why we're here is to mark the end of a program that supports venture building. So we have entrepreneurs who are doing very interesting things, and ARM has committed to support that ecosystem of tech entrepreneurs to achieve their objective and also help us achieve a greater goal, which we'll see in a couple of slides. But we don't just try and offer financial support. In reality, many people think that that's the most important thing to a startup, but it goes beyond that. So if you think about the growth of a company, like a child that is being born, that is an infant, then becomes a toddler, then becomes a teenager and becomes an adult. And the way that you bring up your kid, depending on what stage in their life is very, very different. And oftentimes when a kid is younger, they need a lot of hand-holding, not just from the parents, but from other relatives as well. And that's really what we're trying to do. So we're using our experience and our expertise to try and guide the startups through their journey, but we're also seeking the help of external mentors who come from diverse fields and diverse backgrounds to help us achieve that objective as well. So in addition to helping the startups to meet all of the industry experts that they need advice from so that they can avoid certain mistakes that they could be taught to avoid, we do a lot more beyond that, as I'll talk about in the next pillar that you see, which is driving external innovation. Okay. Sadiq, who gave the opening address, spoke about external innovation, but let me just go into a little bit of detail as to what that means. So in the past, companies used to seek for innovation from internal sources, from members of staff, from research teams, and so on and so forth. But as the world changed, companies are starting to realize that there is a whole world of innovation going on out there, and restricting yourself to only internal sources of innovation actually does you a disservice. So what you need to do is to seek for the ecosystems where the innovation is happening. Try and understand what is important to them and have a conversation with them to see whether there are synergies with your strategy and see where you can partner for the benefit of both parties. And that's really what the external innovation objective is about. And what we're seeking to achieve, especially with the ARM Labs Innovation Program, is to find interesting technology startups that are innovating in ways that we admire, that we feel can enable us unlock new opportunities for both us and the startups, and create new use cases for our products and services for an existing customer base. And it does 2 things. One is we're never as nimble and in most cases as innovative as a startup because of their size and other obvious reasons. So there are certain things that startups can do quicker than we can. But what it allows us to do is, because we have an existing customer base, we can create new products and services, leveraging platforms that the startups have built, and then open up the startups to a brand new market that they will otherwise have needed significant marketing resources to unlock. So that creates a symbiotic relationship between ARM and the startups. And that's really one of the things that we're trying to drive through ARM Labs, working with the startup ecosystem. And of course, one of the last things that we try to do, which Sadiq also spoke about, is also to drive innovation internally. Some literatures refer to it as citizen-led innovation, where you're trying to create a process that incentivizes everybody within the organization to contribute to innovation. And when you combine external and internal innovation, and when you combine a drive to see the ecosystem grow, That really is what ARM Labs is about. And ARM Labs is a brand and a vehicle that ARM uses to push these three objectives. Hope that makes sense. Now, we spoke about the venture building endeavors, which is one of the pillars of ARM Labs. And just to talk to you about some of the things that we've done over the last 5 years, the ARM Labs journey started in 2018 with a version of this particular program that over 5 years has gone through several changes. And what we had done initially was to set up a venture building program that supported a number of startups. And the next slide will show you some of the goals that we've been able to achieve. But like I mentioned, the real goal of the ARM Labs Innovation Program is to drive external innovation, okay? And you see some notable names with those logos at the top there, and some of the outcomes in terms of partnerships that we've established between one ARM subsidiary business and one of the startups that have passed through any of the last four cohorts. And hopefully this cohort would produce a couple of partnerships as well. Sadiq mentioned something about the ARM Labs Lagos Textiles Accelerator, which is really, and if you think about ARM Labs Innovation Program as a pre-accelerator, you wouldn't be wrong. And what we've seen, as you would have noticed from the outcomes there, is that we found that certain companies that have passed through the previous programs ended up in global competitive accelerators. And we would like to believe that there's something that they learned from the program that helped them to be able to compete with other global startups that came from other parts of the world and applied for certain programs like the Techstars Toronto, like Y Combinator, which some of the alumni have had the opportunity of getting into. And what we decided to do was to set up a world-class accelerator that you could compare to any accelerator run in any other part of the world. And we did that partnering with Techstars. And you may have heard about the ARM Labs Lagos Techstars Accelerator. And the goal of that program is really to help startups to get to a level where, as the name implies, their growth is accelerated when you compare them to their peers. And the value of the company itself continues to grow. And what we're looking to do is to unearth the next set of unicorns. Unicorns meaning companies whose valuation is worth at least $1 billion out of Africa. And we do believe that Africa would be the source of the next set of unicorns that emerge. Okay. Now, there's some things, a couple of milestones we've been able to achieve. Like I said, program started in 2018. We've made 12 equity investments already. We've had 4 accelerator programs. This will become 5 by 5 p.m. today. We've made about a little over $450,000, but the value of that investment, by the last time we checked in December 2022, is about $2 million. So it shows you that this is not about the value of ARM's investments in the last cohorts. It's about what the startups are doing. The reason why their valuation is going up is not because they're sitting at home and eating amala or eating pomo. It's because they're working really hard and they're making a difference. And that's really what we're trying to support. Okay. Finally, I'd just like to stress that ARM Labs is not just a brand or a team of people. It is a commitment from ARM. And ARM is saying, I am committing to do, from a very high level perspective, 3 things. I am committing to drive innovation across the continent, not just in Nigeria, because we firmly believe that the problems that we face in Africa can only be solved by Africans and not by anybody else. And we believe that a very key stakeholder, and if not even a stakeholder, but a very key driver of that change is going to come from the tech ecosystem out of Africa. And as you all saw when TD was showing where the bulk of investments are coming through from VCs all around the world, it's coming towards this part of Africa. But there are other regions in Africa that are doing very, very interesting things and are changing their economy, and in some cases, the entire African economy in general. But we do believe that by supporting the tech ecosystem, you are actually directly making an impact to changing things that we consider to be big problems, not just in Nigeria, but in other parts of Africa as well. But where some people see problems, other people see opportunities, okay? And that's really what the startups are trying to, that you would listen to over the next couple of minutes. We'll talk to you about the types of problems that they're solving, okay? And we believe that that's what's going to make us a greater continent and a greater country. It's not by waiting for government, but it's by asking yourself, what can I do to make a change? And we believe that as ARM, what we're doing through ARM Labs is helping to drive that change. Of course, like I said, we see startups as the pillars of economic growth through innovation. And we envision an Africa where technology is a catalyst for economic growth. So with that, I do hope I've been able to give you some understanding of what ARM Labs is, what ARM is trying to do through ARM Labs, and what our vision from a high-level perspective is. So thank you very much. And thank you so much for joining us, for those in the room and those who are joining us online. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ina. It's exciting to see the amazing work that we've been up to the past couple of years. And we're going to move on to learn about our founders.
My name is Daniel Alwede. I'm the Managing Director of Curriculum Nigeria. We're a big data analytics company. We help African businesses get insight from the data to help them make better data-driven decisions, and to help them to increase revenue and reduce operational costs. So far, we've been able to sign up over 100 African businesses and we're operational in 4 African countries: Nigeria, Kenya, Ghana, and Uganda. My name is David Chidoke. I'm the co-founder and CEO of RH. At RH, we help small business owners, that is traders, to save and to transact through our mobile app and our mobile agent. My name is Uke, an engineer. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Onomad. And Onomad will help SMEs to sell, transact, and export into foreign markets from Africa. On our platform, businesses can onboard or start a local trade company, obtain necessary licenses, bank, transact, and remit sales internationally, as well as activate global sales channels. My name is Okola Charles, and I'm the founder and CEO of Wano. So at Wano, we help businesses in financial solutions on WhatsApp, the time they needed. So this helps them with distribution and also insight.
My name is Gaina Elia. I'm the CEO and co-founder of FarmOffice. FarmOffice, we help our farmers sell their produce. We provide affordable farm inputs and financial services to our farmers in the agriculture sector.
I about the program in a couple of places. I saw it on social media and Twitter, to be specific. I also saw it an email from one of these tech blogs that have subscribed to their newsletters. Yeah, so I saw it in both of that. I saw it on both platforms. So I heard about ARM from a friend. She sent that a link to me, and then I went to LinkedIn, and also I saw it that as well. And we did my studies and felt, yeah, this is a great program for Irish to apply.
So I learned about ARM Lab Innovation Program through social media and a couple of blogs online while I was doing my research.
And so I learned about the program on Twitter, and I spoke to a couple of friends about it, and they gave me good feedback, so I applied.
Okay, I heard about the program from one of our clients, TradeLend, Mr. Additional. There was one alumni from here, then just sent me to apply.
I learned a lot of important things from the program, but 2 things stood out for me. One was, the quality of mentors that they brought. They were very exceptional. These are very, very, successful people in the field. And 2 was 2 particular things that the mentors taught, which was, one was investment readiness. That no matter how ready you think you are to speak with an investor, there are so many things you can still find out, that you didn't know before about investors. And also SDG, impact on the economy. So most times when we build products, we just start off with just have at the back of our mind, we're building to solve particular problems. But then again, aside from the problems they're solving, there are so many impact the solutions can have on the economy at large. And that's one of the other things I also enjoy learning about, SDG goals. The most important thing I learned from the program is standardization. During the past 2 years, we've been working so hard scaling the company. All our purpose has been to gain traction, to research, and to manage with our people and our customers. ARM Lab has given us the opportunity to sit down and actually restructure our system. We look at our people, we look at our processes and look at what we're going to. So today, I can confidently say that we are in that place where we are good, where we're ready for the next phase of growth, which is 200,000 users. We have great partnership, we have great mentors, and we have great partnership, both internal and external partners that Aaron has introduced us to. And most importantly, we're formed partnership with Aaron to offer more services to our customers. For me, this is a process. The 6 weeks is worth it for me. I'm glad that I joined this program, and I'm super excited, and I'm sure that the team in Irish, they are happy for what we have achieved just within this 6 weeks.
The most important thing I learned in the program is how to tell stories about your company using business instruments. Basically, knowing how to leverage the boring stuff. The boring stuff, I mean your data room, your business plan, the pitch deck, and all this thing. How do you really tell a story that's convincing to both customers, investors, and other stakeholders in your business? These are the core tenets that form your startup and help you grow along as you go. And so be able to really just have those documentation already and know how to story tell in a way that's convincing and can capture stakeholders in business.
So something I learned from the program was the experience of building a product. There's a lot of work in between your product and scaling the business. And here I really understand that there's so much processes involved and a lot of expectations. And that gave me more insight into what it takes to actually build a business on a global scale. So for that, I'm truly grateful to Aaron.
I learned a lot in terms of structure, in terms of organization, in terms of setting up milestones, growth, and also the networking.
Awesome. I'm so glad you guys learned a lot over this past 6 weeks. I'm so glad you guys were able to get the best out of the program. It's been an exciting 6 weeks. So I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Damilare Massimo, the head of ARM Labs Innovation Program, head of ARM Labs Adventure Building. Damilare, over to you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. And to our founders, thank you for taking time to listen for this last 6 weeks. Before I introduce the founders, I will start with saying that Ina said it's been an exciting 6 weeks. I'll add it's been an intense 6 weeks, very intense 6 weeks. We've had 18 workshops, we've had 8 keynote sessions, and we've had over 25 one-on-one mentoring sessions. So I would say it's been a very, very intense 6 weeks. We bought your time for 6 weeks, and we're happy to hear the results of that 6 weeks. Thank you very much. And I will say a big thank you to TD and the TVC lab team. I would say they've been very, very, very awesome and great, taking us through the entire program for the 6 weeks. It's time to go into the reason why we're here today. We have founders from fintech, agri-tech, digital trade, and data intelligence. Everybody that came into this program July 24th, 2023, I can say they're not the same guys I'm looking at right now. In fact, we heard one of them talk yesterday. I said, are you the same guy that we listened to 6 weeks ago? So I think it's time for us to showcase our founders. And guys, are we ready? Let me know if you guys are ready. All right, so we'll start with Periculum. Damlola Aloedi.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Damlola Aloede, Managing Director of Periculum Nigeria. Africa has a huge potential. With a population of over 1.2 billion people and a GDP of over $2.8 trillion, according to ADB, Africa is on the brink of data revolution. Historically, African businesses make decisions based on gut feelings, intuition, and sometimes experience. Despite Africa's huge potentials, African businesses still face lots of obstacles. African businesses struggle to get the right technical skills to help them make sense of their data. African businesses also struggle to get the right personnel. Most often than not, they always leverage a one-size-fits-all approach. And this limits them to harness the power of data and to fuel their growth. And this doesn't allow them to compete globally. This is where Periculum comes in. We're a big data analytics company, leveraging the power of artificial intelligence to help African businesses get insight from their data and make better data and smarter business decisions. This will help them to increase revenue and also to reduce their costs. Over the last 18 years, we've built an array of products, but I'd like to speak about our flagship product called Insight. Insight is a machine learning-based credit scoring model that helps financial institutions to intelligently identify bad borrowers from good borrowers during the underwriting process. Sometime last year, we signed up a financial institution, and one of their products, they had a high default rate as high as 79%. We built this credit model for them, deployed it. 3 months down the line, the default rate dropped to 28%. I call that impact. Speaking about impact, we've launched in 4 African countries, Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, Uganda, who signed over 100 businesses, including commercial banks, microfinance banks, digital lenders, buy now pay later companies, and a couple of government parastatals. Last year, we had a revenue of $208,000, and we're projecting to have a revenue of $1.6 million by the end of next year. We understand that each African business is unique. So we decided to build a flexible pricing model. We price our products in 2 ways today. A monthly subscription fee of an average of $1,000, and also we created a pay-as-you-go pricing model that averages $1 per successful API call. We have a team of 17 superstars, like I fondly call them, working across 3 different continents, in Africa, Asia, and North America. They've been able to work in reputable organizations like KPMG, InterSwitch, BMO Canada, PingMe, Indicina, Oradian, to mention a few. We're raising our seed round of $2 million. We've gotten successful financial commitment of up to $900,000 from reputable VCs like Loyal VC, Business Development of Canada, and Google. We intend to use this money, these funds raised, for market expansion into South Africa, Egypt, Tanzania, to optimize our product also, and for sales and marketing. Google invested in us. What is your excuse? If you're interested in having a conversation with me, meet me outside. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Damnola. So I guess we don't have any excuse to invest in Periculum. If Google has done it, then you can do it too. All right, up next is Farmer First, Gena Ilia.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gena Ilia. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Farmer First, based in Plateau State. I grew up in the farms, and my parents are farmers. One thing that we have experienced is during harvest, we experience food wastage. According to World Food Program, the agricultural market in Nigeria is about $120 billion. And we have 66 million farmers. But one challenge that the farmers face is that they experience an average of 38 million tons of food wastage, which is over $1 billion. At Farmer First, we have created a robust system whereby farmers, we can create market access for our farmers by helping them sell their produce. Farmers can place orders for affordable farm inputs and also apply for microcredits in form of farm inputs to enable them grow and expand their agricultural business. We started in 2018, working with about 200 farmers, but we have expanded to 23,000 farmers, working with farmers in both Plateau and Kaduna, and also operating across 6 states in Nigeria. We have partners like food processing companies, merchants, agricultural cooperatives, and currently we're working with the 2 major commodity exchanges in Nigeria, which is Apex Commodity Exchange and the Lagos Commodity and Future Exchange. We're currently generating an average revenue of $12,000 month to month. Currently, we have raised about $55,000 and we're planning to raise about $250,000. We want to plan and expand to up to 100,000 farmers within a space of 2 years, expand our market access so that farmers will not experience food wastage, and also expand our farm input distribution and also credit facilities to our farmers. And also expansion of exports, especially healthy foods like hibiscus, ginger. In the north, they call it acha, which is called fonio, which is good for diabetes patients. You can come and join us as we help our farmers take their agricultural produce to the last mile. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gena. And you hear what they say, come and join us. At the end of the session, please join them outside and speak to them, ask questions, and please cut them a check. All right. Up next is Charles Okala of Wano, CEO, co-founder.
Good day, everyone. My name is Charles Okala, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Wano, W-A-N-O, Wano. Our journey began last year when we discovered that financial institutions, such as the banks and fintechs, pay the telcos $10 billion for access to USSD. USSD allows them to offer their financial solutions to customers across Africa who do not have access to a smartphone or good internet. This is a massive opportunity for them, so they leverage USSD to fulfill this need. But the bigger problem is that it takes them an average of 90 days to integrate with the USSD services. To put it into perspective, if First Bank is going into a new market, they would have to integrate with MTN, Glo, and the likes. And for each of them, it takes them 90 days. It could take them well over a year before they're done. This is very expensive and highly inefficient. Our solution offers a better alternative to all the financial institutions. We'll provide a way for them to offer their financial services to customers using WhatsApp. One of our customers, Teka, they had a mobile app and they just had just shy of 5,000 users. But using WhatsApp through Wano, they're able to onboard over 25,000 users on their platform. Through Wano, they're able to save and earn returns, all happening directly on WhatsApp. Another customer is using WhatsApp to offer loans to customers in rural areas, all powered by Wano. We started out in March, that's when we launched our product, and since then, we've made $23,000 in revenue. Just this month, we've done shy over $11,000 in revenue. All made possible
by a team of 4 people. Super efficient, which consists of a third-time founder like myself, people who have worked in notable fintech companies like Pass, who went through this program, and even Max.ng, all with a combined experience of over 10 years in the fintech industry. We make money by charging businesses for every conversation their customers have on WhatsApp. We also charge them a subscription fee. So 2 ways, pay-as-you-go model and a subscription fee, depending on the numbers of users you have. Till date, users have had over 320,000 conversations on WhatsApp through our platform. We are looking to raise $400,000, and we believe with this, we can be able to reach $5 million in revenue in the next 12 months. We're helping financial institutions save billions of dollars in revenue. And if we're able to tap in just 10% of the market, we'll be earning well over $400 million in revenue. This is a huge opportunity, and we would like you all to tap into that. So if you believe in what we're working on, please let's have a conversation. Thank you. So you can just scan and test out our product. We built a banking app on WhatsApp, so you can just test it out and see how it works. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Charles has introduced to you a new channel. You're used to mobile banking app, your web app, your USSD. Now there's WhatsApp banking, and that's all. That's Charles's work. Thank you, Charles, and well done. All right. Okay, so we go with next is OK Junior, and CEO, co-founder, Go Nomad. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. According to the World Trade Organization, Africa has 39 million businesses who do not participate in any form of international commerce today. That leads to $700 billion lost in revenue every year. And to put that number in perspective, that's 22% of Africa's GDP in 2022. In 2018, I set up my first e-commerce store while I was still in college, trying to sell into the US market from Nigeria. I lost my money, all of it, really quickly, and was also left with tons of abandoned carts. But what I learned from that experience was the problem was not with my e-commerce store. It was simply because my business neither had the tools nor the structure to sell into the US market from Nigeria. And this is the same problem that millions of e-commerce and export businesses in Africa face today. They are plagued with complex trade and platform restrictions that make it extremely difficult for them to go from selling on Jumia and Gigi to exporting and selling on Amazon and Walmart from Africa. But that all changes with Go Nomad. At Go Nomad, we're building the one-stop platform that allows African businesses to access the international market. We're going after this problem because we discovered from our research that one international sale leads to double the revenue per customer for an SME. And remember, there's 39 million of them waiting to be onboarded, representing a $20 billion market. My name is Uke, co-founder, CEO at Go Nomad. I'm going on this journey with 2 solid co-founders. We make up a team of 8 at Go Nomad, bringing more than 15 years of experience from the tech industry, working in firms like Evolve Credits and Stellar, and managing multinational trade facilitation in firms like 5,000 Miles. We built our product as an online platform that enables businesses to onboard or start a global trade company, obtain trade licenses without which they would not be able to connect to the international market, bank and transact and remit sales internationally, as well as connect to global sales channels from one dashboard. We make money through a mix of revenue models. The first of which is one-time fees, which we charge anywhere from $200 to $400, subscriptions, transactional revenue, and of course, revenue share agreements with our partners. Since our launch in 2022, we've been able to onboard more than 220 merchants from 2 African countries, and we've been able to also help them earn and remit more than $400,000 in 2023 alone. This year, we're currently on track to generate $110,000 in revenue, which is double what we did last year. We're looking to raise $300,000 in funding to fuel 24 months of products and growth. This funding would enable us to roll out our commerce products to the public, onboard 40,000 merchants, and generate $1.5 million in revenue within 24 months. Join us as we enable 1 million African businesses over the next 5 years to double their business by tapping into global commerce. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Uke. Thank you very, very much. We'll go to the last presentation, the last deck pitch rather. And Arich, are you ready? Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Divine Awazie. I am the growth manager at Arich. Meet Madam Rukayat. Okay. How do I do that? Okay. Meet Mama Rukayat. She's a trader, entrepreneur, and single mother of 3 who had a dream to create a better life for her children, send them to the best schools that money can afford, and of course, give them the best that children deserve growing up. Now, Mama Rukayat was not able to do this because of some challenges. And when we met her a couple of months ago, she told us a couple of these challenges. Local thrift collectors. Mama Rukayat would save an amount with these local thrift collectors that would come to her store daily to pick money and save on a card, writing manually. After a couple of months of saving, these local thrift collectors will vanish, and Mama Rukayat will be left to start from square one. This continued for a couple of times until she met Arich. We provided this solution to Mama Rukayat, and she started saving 1,000 naira daily with the system. She got more confident as it went along and increased her saving 1,005 and 2,000 naira respectively, which she ran simultaneously for 6 months. And after 6 months, Mama Rukayat was able to save 640,000 naira, which she used to send her children back to school, restock her shop, and of course, have enough money to cater for the children. Mama Rukayat's story is not an individual story in Nigeria. This is the plight of about 60 million business people, small enterprises in Nigeria. Our traction. In the past 2 years, Arich has onboarded 24,000 businesses. 24,000 businesses who have been able to do $1.2 million in transaction. We have 420 agents in the market clusters that attend to our business people and $500,000 in deposits in the last 12 months alone. Our revenue. We make money through transfer charges, emergency withdrawal charges, and of course, commissions. We're looking at making 5 million in transaction in the next 2 years by onboarding 200,000 businesses, traders, who will use the same system that Mama Rukayat has used. Now you're thinking to yourself, I know 1,001 saving businesses. What is the difference between Arich and this business? Arich has simultaneously combined what the business owners are used to and the new. So old plus new. The old in the 420 agents which we actively have, which is the mobile agents, and the new digital banking. Put these two together and you get Arich. Not just a one solution, but a complete and wholesome solution. Business people can easily save and then The underbanked are also touched because, of course, the business people that can use their phone can easily log into the app and transact, while the ones that do not have a phone like Mama Rukayat can make use of the agent. Our team have a combined 30 years experience in fintech, technology, banking, and finance. We're looking at raising $650,000, which will allow us to touch more business people like Mama Rukayat. Right now, we are only covering 5 market clusters, and we look to double or triple that number in the next few months. Arich is not just a saving platform. We are actively touching lives and making a change where it seems like they seem to not be. Join us today on this movement as you partner not just with a company, but a solution that business owners have been looking for the past few years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we just please put our hands together for all our 5 founders, Thank you. And I'm pretty sure when we said ARM Labs Innovation Program, Cohort 5, we had the selection process. There was stage 1, 2, and 3. And the last stage had 15 people pitched to a panel of judges. And I have the panel sitting down here. And I'm sure these are not the same guys you thought you heard 6 weeks ago. And one thing that is very important is everybody who has speak to you today is solving a unique problem. Nobody is here building on a problem. It's a unique problem. For example, just said Arich now. We used to do it, even as bankers back in the day, we used to do our job amongst ourselves and say, who is taking next? Who is taking next? But somebody is there digitizing it. Go Nomad today. I can register my company in the US. I don't need to go to some lawyer, some this. I just go to Go Nomad, do everything, and just give me a company in the US. One, everybody uses WhatsApp. My mom uses WhatsApp to chat with me. She doesn't do phone call again. So it means that my mom can bank using WhatsApp. That's one giving you something new. And Gena from Jos, they tell you that the strawberries you buy in Lagos at 2,500 naira goes for 500 naira in Jos. So there's wastage, and it's trying to get it down from there to the last mile. So everybody, if you look at Periculum, everybody shouts data, 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 but this is raw data that are trying out and giving insights, and people are using today. So every of our founders today are solving 1, 2, 3, 4 unique problems. So what I want us to do is, as we go to the end of this session, the fireside and all of that, when we go outside, it's very important that we engage the founders, because they had just like 5 minutes and they couldn't say everything, but you have the next 1 hour, 2 hours to speak with them. Please engage and just go into their minds. And when you're done, when you come out of their minds, please go into their pockets at the end of the day. They need follow-on investments to take them to the next level. Before we go to the fireside chat, the 6 weeks has been built on a framework called POEM: proposition, their organization, the economics of their business, and what milestones they want to achieve. And we've had this running, we've done this with a mentor pitch approach, where we had the founders pitch their mentors. We had a pitch back session. So what they did was, after every workshop, they pitched to the mentors, and the mentors were asking them questions. And one important thing was, is your product defense, is it defensible? What is it scalable? What at the end of the day, what are you going to achieve? And I'm sure with their pitch today, they've given answers to that. I will call on TD right now as we close this speech session to let us know 1, 2, 3, 4 founders and how they've done using these 4, 5 milestones. TD.
Well, it's actually quite easier, unfortunately easier than I thought. The numbers are back, and in terms of, we have 2 clear winners. And you know what's funny about it? Neither of them is here. Yeah. The startups are here, but the individuals are not. Unfortunately, Chijioke of Arich had to go to hospital this afternoon. You know, he was that sick. And in terms of proposition, they won. And I went with them first because all the other categories, bar none. And by the way, in terms of how do we arrive at this, every single one of you mentors had to grade each and every one of the startups. So what I'm sharing is what all of you think about the startups, and coming top on each and every one of the others, the vision, the organization, the economics, and the milestones. Surprise, surprise, was curriculum. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, and well done to Arich and Periculum for standing out. We'll quickly go into the fireside chat, and Modupe will moderate this session. It's very important for us to note that even as founders, we go pitch. We need to understand when you're talking to an investor, what does he look at beyond your pitch? It's not just about the decks and the slides. What does he look at beyond your pitch? So Modupe will take us through this session, introduce the panelists, and I wish us a very productive session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everybody. Founders, you did amazing. Your pitch was amazing. It's been an amazing 6 weeks. I've seen you guys practice and grow over this period, and friendships were formed and connections were made, partnerships were made. And thanks to POEM Framework and all the hard work of the team. So I'm going to introduce our guest speakers, Mr. Munir Buba, the ED of as ARM Investment Managers. Please come on board. And then I'm going to introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Andrew Tarazid Tarawali from the Growth Stage Impact Investor. I'm going to learn your last name, Andrew. I'm so sorry. So we're just going to get right into it for time. I would ask that you please introduce yourself, starting from Andrew.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. So my name is Andrew. I serve as the investment manager for Sub-Saharan Africa for Small Foundation. Small Foundation is a philanthropic family office out of Ireland that is also an impact investor eradicating extreme poverty in Sub-Saharan Africa. Prior to joining Small Foundation, I spent the past 5.5 years with Acumen Fund, leading the investment work in West Africa, covering Nigeria, Ghana, and Sierra Leone. Before Acumen, I also worked with another impact investor in Ghana that focused on West Africa, also 6 West African countries. Mm-hmm. But I started my career in banking, so I'm an ex-banker. It's my pleasure meeting you.
Same here. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Munir Buba. I'm Executive Director at ARM Investment Managers. I oversee investment. ARM Investment Managers is part of the ARM group. You can see behind me all the entities. ARM is an asset manager with over 29 years of experience, and basically we are the host today.
Thank you very much. So we're just going to go right into it. We've seen our founders pitch, and we're going to talk about what's next after pitching. What goes through an investor's head? How do they decide to invest in a startup? Could you speak a little bit, seeing how investors engage in multiple startups? What factors do you consider that influences the decision for you to invest in their businesses? Oh yeah, please.
Sure. Okay. So I think it's just a continuation from the pitch, right? Mm-hmm. And getting more information. Mm-hmm. So obviously in the pitch, you've seen they talk about finances, they talk about traction, they talk about the team, they talk about their markets, mm-hmm. and all that. And from an investor now, you want to get into more details. Mm-hmm. So let's, for example, one of the advices I give entrepreneurs, mm-hmm. when it comes to the numbers, sometimes they will tell you I'm not a numbers person. And it's important to have the numbers at the top of your fingers. So when an investor asks you, what's your cash runway? What's your cash burn? What's your gross margin? What's your EBITDA? You need to be able to say them like that. And if you don't know them, at least bring your CFO or your finance person. And that's why it's important when you meet with investors, you have maybe a team with you, not just you, because the questions can come from technical to finance, to marketing, to research, wherever. So you need to be able to have the information readily available for investors, because that's when you can't immediately answer those questions, then we start asking, are you on top of things? Are you really involved day to day? Are you, do you have the right team around you? These are some of the things we will delve in. So you, as I said, you're just going into detail with each aspect of it. Some investors spend a lot of time on the numbers, finance, because at the end of the day, they're giving you money and they want to make a return. So they will spend time, but I will always start with the business model, because I think the business model is critical to everything. But if I understand your business model, I understand how you make money, I understand how you spend money, I understand what potential challenges or gaps we're going to face. And the other thing I think is important for entrepreneurs, especially early stage companies, do not be afraid to tell the truth. Tell the truth where there are gaps, be honest, because to be honest also as an investor, when I look at an early stage company, I know there are going to be issues. If there were no issues, you wouldn't be raising money. So I need to understand where you have challenges, and let me see as an investor, am I best suited to help you overcome those challenges? Those challenges could be even from the team perspective. You're having certain skills that you need and you can't afford to bring in the people. It can be regulatory, where the sector you operate in, there's constant change in regulation, and you don't even know in a year's time what the regulation will be. So some investors can be advocates for you with government. They can help get you a seat with the regulators to give you your rationale why certain policies or decisions should not be changed or should be going in a certain direction. So these are some of the areas I would say are critical. There's a lot more, but I'll pause here to also give my colleague opportunity.
You covered everything. In fact, you said, yeah, you can hear me, right?
Oh yeah, we can hear you.
You said one thing is around the math and numbers. In my case, I don't speak English. I just speak math and numbers. So one of the startup was, let's say courageous to put a valuation there. So while they are presenting, I'm always just smiling. I say the tough part is going to start, guys. So I always look forward to it. I say, we're going to start talking valuations, and obviously with valuations, and they know. I mean, obviously I was part of the program, so we had many one-on-one and so on. Evaluation part, I always look forward to it, evaluation discussion, because I'm always in my head, I say, oh my God, I need to bring them back to reality because I have no idea. I have no idea. So I would say that I look forward, I mean, but you mentioned it more or less, to start doing my job, basically, which is to do the due diligence. I mean, to go look at the data room, look really what is there, look at everything that is, I mean, that we take from the POEM framework. So we probably dive into this a bit later. But basically, yeah, after the pitch, it's what I say, okay, guys, we'll meet later and have an in-depth discussion and do the due diligence, basically.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So I'm just going to go off of what you said. You mentioned that one of the things the first thing you kind of look at is the business proposition. So what aspects of the startup's proposition do you typically delve into to understand that this is a startup, this is a viable startup that you would invest in?
So there's two aspects to it, right? So a lot of what's it called, entrepreneurs, when they do pitches, they'll tell you the market size, 1.2 billion people, this amount was spent this year. And I say, fine, that's the whole market, right? But the reality is sometimes that's not even your true market. So on one end of it, I want to understand from your internal resources that you can generate, and even with the investment you're raising, how much really can you produce? Because it doesn't matter if your size is 100 trillion. if you cannot really produce sufficiently, you're not going to capture any significant portion of that. So number one, you're raising $500,000, for example. Of that 500,000, you say you're going to hire, you're going to do this, you're going to that. But I want to understand, number one, whether it's a service or a product, what does it cost you to deliver 1 unit? So you get to the unit economics. What does it cost you to produce 1 unit of that product or service? And then beyond that, what are the other overheads? So that tells me that, okay, with this money you're raising, even at full capacity, for example, or whatever capacity, this is the maximum you can achieve. So I know, okay, then will I take what they call a bottom up or not the top down? So I now know, okay, it costs you this to produce this. This is what you're selling at. And then when you're looking at the proposition, you say you're selling at this, but what are your competitors selling? Are you going to, and even if you're trying to sell lower than others, then that means your gross margin, for example, may be smaller, which means it's going to take you longer to break even. And as an investor, I want to wait 5 years or 6 years before you break even. Some investors, if you're not breaking even in 2 years, they're saying bye-bye. Because the other thing is, everything you put on paper is on paper. When you start, the reality is totally different. There are very few businesses that would give you a projections, and then they will meet those projections when they start. Some exceed. There are a few examples, but that's the minority. So on one hand, I want to understand your unit economics. I want to understand the market you deal in, and I want to understand what internal resources do you have to be able to achieve that. And then when I understand that that links to the finances, then when you tell me your valuation is 10 million, I can say, And in this market, what I've become a fan of is to do, rather than doing an equity even investment, is for early stage to do a convertible note or a SAFE. Because I always feel, let's push out the valuation timelines. If you say you're worth 10 million today, if you say you're worth 10 million, that means in 2 years, your revenue should have reached a certain level to defend that. So if in 2 years, your revenues are not even there yet, that means we have to bring the valuation down. So these are things that I think, spend time in that initial phase. And there's always another, for me, related to the business model, is the team. Because at the end of the day, it's people that execute. People can have very fancy presentations, they can speak well, but when it comes to execution, it's a different story. So I look at the background of people. I look at the team, they make up what skill sets they have. Do they complement each other? And one of the most, sometimes they succeed, but having single founder companies is challenging because they take a longer time to be, because one person cannot be an expert in everything. You cannot be a CFO and a salesperson and a HR person. So sometimes you need to bring in people, sometimes give them some equity so that you both are aligned and can go. So there's a lot, but
So let me jump on the last point you made on people. Definitely, I agree with that. At early stage, basically, the most important, in fact, is the people. It's not the idea. Okay, how innovative the idea may be is the people. It's important to have, a diversified, a very good team, structure in place, board, staff, perfect organization, policies, processes, everything, because it's fundamental. How many startups basically have failed because based on people, okay, like key man risk or these kind of things. So it's fundamental. And after the people, yeah, definitely the market. Everything that you mentioned, what is the market? Who are the competitors? Are you aware of your competitors, who they are, what is your age, and so on? I'm happy because one of the startup of this program, when I met them the first time, unfortunately they had a product, or fortunately, that is quite close to a service, let's say, of another startup that is part of ARM program. So the ARM Labs Lagos Techstar accelerator program, basically. And I asked him straight away, and he was able to answer. And I asked him, okay, what is your value proposition? What is your edge? And he was also able to answer. So it gave me comfort. So he was really on top of his competition and basically what is bringing new on the table. So yeah, it's fundamental.
Awesome. Thank you. So my next question would be specifically to Munir. As you've grown, you've spent time here in ARM, and you've also seen the ups and downs, especially when it came to the investments that the startups that we've invested in the past couple of years. I'm curious a little bit more to know more about your experience and also how the team dynamics have come into play in selecting what startups to invest in and how to engage them. If you could give an example, that would be awesome.
So you're talking about investment, pure investment.
Yes.
Okay. So basically, in fact, my experience at ARM hasn't been that long. So, but obviously, I mean, Ina mentioned some of the success stories that ARM has had through the two programs, because now we have two accelerator programs, so 12 or Rise Invest, for example. But I would say that from an investment point of view, so you know, we have opened a structure, a vehicle, let's say, ARM Investment Club, that help our investors, our clients, to invest in startups that vetted by ARM, basically that went through a program, either this one or the other program. So basically, again, I will come to valuation. So the selection is done, I mean, coming from let's say 500 startups until like 12, for example, in the case of the Techstars, ARM Techstars program, it is done through, I mean, a period of 3 months. But once we come down to 12, come the part that is the difficult part, which is the negotiation, discussion on the valuation. So then I will say once again, my experience I would share is that it's not easy to agree on a valuation. And I think many founders haven't adjusted. I think TD, you need to share the slides with them. You know, the slide you show, the drop, I mean, before COVID and after COVID, what has happened? I mean, so some of them, they don't realize. And they need also to understand that investors, they have a wide range of assets they can invest in. Traditional assets, alternative assets, and even if you go on the venture capital specifically, you have no idea of the universe that is out there. So beyond your value proposition, the market, the people, the milestone you have done, everything, the number need to make sense. Otherwise, you will not get an investor.
Thank you. Andrew, do you have anything to add to that?
I think he's covered a lot of, pretty much a lot. I'll just maybe comment on the valuation, because I think it's something we're seeing taking a toll on some companies. I would say investors are fatigued on the continent. There is interest, but they're becoming more and more conscious about what they pay for assets. As you mentioned, I think 4 or 5 years ago, they were paying multiples of 10, 15x on revenue and things like that. Now, no. And one thing I advise like companies, do not get too bogged down on valuation, because what you need is cash. And companies can go bust because of delays in valuation or discussion with investors. And I don't want to call names, but there are live examples of companies that have run out of cash because they were waiting on investors. They were going back and forth. And cash is king. It's the lifeblood of every company. Without cash, you're dead. So I'm saying, I know you all want to have unicorns, but not every company is going to become a unicorn.
If I may add, I had a discussion with one of the startups just 2 weeks ago. Basically, obviously, difficult discussion on valuation. And he told me, no, I cannot lower my, basically, I can tell you he has 2 or 3 months of cash and it's out. And he's looking to raise. And not much, it was, Not here. No, I'm not here.
Be
And
specific.
basically, he told me, no, but I cannot drop my valuation because it cannot be lower than the previous round of valuation. And it will not make sense when I will be going to the next round. I say, yeah, but you may not see the next round. Because basically, if in 2 months you run out of cash. There is a reality. So in his case, it's unfortunate because he has a great product and everything. But on the other side, and I've told those founders here when I met them a few weeks ago, I told them, because they are all they are generating cash flow, all of them. And I told them, at the end of the day, at least you are profitable. It's a matter of scaling and everything. So at least in your case, you have a strong hand versus the investors. So don't rush if you don't need it, okay? Literally, you need to, because the company belongs to you. Once you sell it, or you're starting making, no, they are going to lose a bit of
that. Thank you. So how do you weigh the significance of early traction versus long-term scalability?
Wow, interesting one. So early traction, I think it's subjective, right? Because I've seen, looking through, I saw some have like $300,000 in revenue. So the way I look at it is like, okay, because sometimes I've seen companies where you start that first maybe phase, you can go like this. And then all of a sudden, once the capital comes in, you find out you can't continue going the way you were going. Because sometimes, I don't know what it is with some companies, like when the money comes in, lose like their focus or something. And then they're now trying to get cars or trying to bring in something more that they think would be more efficient, but in the end, it's not. So it's subjective, obviously. So I want to see, as I keep saying, unit economics is important. So, and one of the key metrics investors use is the gross margin, because gross margin, based on unit economics, and you can see your gross contribution per product, can now tell you, okay, you need to sell X amount to break even. So if, for example, your traction to date is, I'm just giving an example, let's say 10,000, you sold 10,000 units of a product, right? And we do the economics, and it says that if you hit 60,000, you're breaking even. That shows that you're close to getting breaking even. And if the market size is, let's say, 1 million, and you only need to sell 50,000 of that million to get break, that shows like investor more confidence that, okay, it's not guaranteed, because nothing in this life is guaranteed, but you're closer to getting to profitability than somebody maybe who needs to sell 2 million units. So for example, if you say you've made 1 million in revenue, but your break-even revenue is 100 million, that's still not much traction. So these are the things you look at to be able to say, okay, whether that's enough traction. But obviously having customers that are willing to pay for a product is always a plus. And the more customers you have that are willing to pay for a product, the more comfort investors say, okay, because that's one thing, some investors don't do pre-revenue companies because we don't know whether somebody's going to be willing to exchange money for it. But then others would like, okay, if you have at least some customers paying, then okay, that means there is potential. So it also depends on the investor, how, let's say, what their objectives are, what are their return objectives. So one of the other things when entrepreneurs speak with investors, you have to understand investors also have objectives. They want to make money, someone to make money and make an impact. So understand what their overall objective is. So if these, and some investors will tell you that you're too early stage, because some will tell you that their average ticket is 5 to 10 million. So if you're raising 200,000 to 1 million, don't even bother. You're both wasting each other's time. So you need to also do research on the investor to understand what type of investor that is and whether that's the right partner for you.
So I would say to ride on what you said, I would advise founders, CEOs to be transparent. Literally, be transparent. Give us a detailed and honest monthly update. It's fundamental. This is where also we can advise you, help you. It's not just finding an investment. We want also to make an impact, basically to the continent, to the ecosystem. So be honest, disclose everything. As he said, he mentioned many metrics that we look at. give us a monthly, clear and honest update. We will get advice from us. It's what we are looking at to be sure that, yeah, your business is still scalable.
Thank you. So Munir, you're a corporate investor. Andrew, you're an impact investor. I'm curious to know how the emerging trends, especially in the ecosystem, influences your decision in how you invest in startups. I mean, like TD said, we have been the past couple of years, the fintech has saturated. Everybody's coming up with one fintech solution, a payment solution or the other. How has the trend generally influenced your decision in what startups to invest outside of not just the data room and founder transparency and the team?
Okay, first thing, I want to make a comment about corporate investor, impact investor. So I think rather than look at it as either or, you should look at it on a spectrum. Impact versus for profits. And various investors would align along that spectrum. Some are purely for profit and some are, I don't think any investor is purely for impact, but let's just say, yeah. That's not an investor, that's something else. But yes, so we're along the spectrum. And I think some of the key themes that are coming up, what I'm seeing, number one challenge we're seeing is the space is exits. Investors are wanting to see more exits, especially because for better or for worse, the biggest investors on the continent are DFIs. I don't want to call them, but we know them. They put money in funds, fund of funds, and directly in companies. And a lot of them are not seeing routes to exits as they would like, because they're not holding these assets in perpetuity. They're holding it for maybe 6, 7, maybe maximum, if you're lucky, 9 years. They want to exit. So that's becoming a critical issue now for investors. When they invest in a company, what are the paths to exit? In the past, people will say the investors will buy you back. I mean, the entrepreneurs will do buyback, or in this part of the world, we don't talk about IPOs. No, that's not really a viable exit. Maybe an acquisition. People used to be more thinking acquisitions will happen, and they haven't happened as much. So now one key consideration is exit. What's the path to exit? That is critical. The other thing that we're seeing is that is affecting not only Nigeria, but a lot of markets now is the FX volatility. Nigeria, Kenya, Egypt, South Africa, Ghana, you name it. And a lot of the investors that are investing in this market invest in hard currency. So now they're like, okay, how am I going to get my money out? And would I be able to returns in dollars that I was hoping for? So they're now looking for companies that are either export oriented or sort of have linked to the dollar somehow, or can outgrow the depreciation of the local currency. So these are some of the considerations. So you have exits, FX, obviously government regulation will always be there. So, but I think, and obviously ultimately they're looking for, as I keep saying, I don't need to cash cycle.
Cash is king.
Cash is king. One of the things I've seen, maybe it's get better. A lot of the time, entrepreneurs, when they're doing their projections, they focus on revenue. But revenue is not cash. I always say, for some companies, yes, everything revenue equal cash, but not all. There's receivables, there's inventory. How are you financing that? And as you grow, that becomes even more critical, because every time you grow, it means you need to finance your working capital. And unfortunately, in this part of the world, the banks are not very helpful by providing that liquidity that companies need. And you need to ask yourself, how are you going to finance that? And if you're going to be able to get even local funding, interest rates are relatively high here. So these are some of the trends we're seeing that are affecting how investors look at companies.
Okay. You quoted TD. During your question, I will also quote TD, who said that crisis, let's say, because crisis, I mean, will always happen. So he said that COVID and crisis doesn't affect valuation. I mean, no, affect valuation, but doesn't affect your value, right? So basically, be flexible, I would say, because crisis will always happen. Believe me, either you are a startup or a matured or established business. I mean, that's why you have investors. Basically, that's why you have investors willing to take a risk, giving you money for a return. Okay, and that return is linked to a risk. Basically, risk and return are related. So you will always have crises you will have to manage. So just remain flexible. Adjust when you have to adjust. I'm sure everybody knows businesses who started selling one product and within a generation they were selling something that was completely different. And in fact, I was happy that during the program, during one of the one-on-one session, someone asked me, say, okay, what do you think about that? I mean, we may have our core business, but we may, for a time being, deploy more resources to another one. And he quoted Amazon as an example. And he quoted example. I said, I remember perfectly. Amazon started like a bookstore, basically, and very badly for many years. They had issues, real estate, logistic, at the end of the 90s, beginning, and it was pure book. Huh? They were not selling everything else that Amazon is selling today. I was an investor in Amazon, so I can tell you how many quarter earnings down. Every investor call was until they adjusted. So now, I mean, yeah, remain flexible. Again, be honest, disclose, and because crisis will always happen.
Thank you very much. As we come to an end of this session, I've been informed that we're almost out of time. My last question is twofold. The first one is, what sets apart successful startups for them to have a follow-up meeting with an investor? And in plain English, let's itemize it so that our lovely founders can understand the reality of things. What advice can you give them so that by the time they have this follow-up or connect with other investors, they're better prepared and they are able to get the investments that they need?
Wow. Okay, that's
okay. If you want, I can't.
Yes,
I'm going to start and end in 10 seconds. Okay, and it will be plain English. Okay, get a clean digital data room. That's all.
I think what I'll add to that in connection, and it's linked. You should be prepared
for the questions.
Any questions, because nothing makes investor like hesitant than if you can answer a question about your company or your sector or your industry. And the other thing is, he said it's be transparent, be honest. Look, I have walked away from transactions where the company or the entrepreneur was trying to paint a rosy picture. And the thing, you can think you're smart, you can hide things. Nothing can be hidden under the sun these days. And that one, I have stories. This was one that said, we are operational in 5 cities across Nigeria. And you thought I wouldn't be able to go to the north and stuff like that. I said, okay. But I didn't go, but I did some research and I realized that within my network, the people in those, and I called, nothing was going on. He could have simply said, we had delays, but he was trying to paint a very rosy picture. So, and then when we wanted to now go there, he now said, there was an, what's it called? Thieves went there and broke and took away. So be honest and have the information at it, not only in your data room, because investors go to your data room and they'll have 100 questions from what you've put in the data room. And be patient and be prepared. I think that's about it.
Thank you very much, Munir and Andrew. I really appreciate the time you have spent with us this evening. Thank you. So I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Damilare, to end the session.
Right. Thank you very much, Munir. Thank you very much, Andrew. And I would say that was very, very, very insightful. We've come to the end of the session, and we've come to the end of the session, and I really, really hope that we took something out of the session, especially from the last session, the Fireside chat, and most importantly, from our founders. And I keep going back to our founders because Let me put it in code. I'm falling in love with the founders. So I said to them yesterday, I said, guys, I'm going to miss you. I'm going to really miss them. I'm getting very emotional. It's been 6 weeks of calling, and these guys don't have respect for your time. Let me just tell you. And I'll call out, especially Gainer. They don't have respect for your time. They call you when they have this issue. How are you going to solve it for them? But the beauty, like I tell them, once you've gone through this program, you're forever a part of this program. So if you need to knock that door and that door is not opening, just come back to ARM. We know someone that knows someone that knows someone to open that door. Just always come back. All right. So as we end the session, I would hand over to the MD ARM Academy for a closing remark. And when we're done, we'll take a group photograph, and then we please go outside for the mixer. And founders, please, you have a room full of investors, network and get the best of it. Over to you, Ma.
Thank you, Damilare. Wow, I cannot believe this, that is already 6 weeks, because I can remember we were all in this room trying to decide who would be in this cohort. But like everyone has said today, it's been an exciting 6 weeks, getting to know you, getting to know your business. So I would like to start by saying a big thank you to our partners, TVC, our chief collaborator, Mr. Tommy Davis, always partnering with us in so many ways. He's done a lot with us in data, and then he's here with us on ARM Labs. So thank you so much. I don't want to forget the people online. We have some people online, our investors, the people who joined us online. Thank you so much for staying on. I hope you were able to follow some of the things that we were doing today. Thank you so much. And then I'd like to say a big thank you to all the mentors. It couldn't have been easy. In addition to your own work, you made time for the one-on-ones, for the presentations. So we just say a big thank you to you. It took a lot out of you, but we got the result that we wanted. So a big thank you. And to my colleagues in ARM as well. This has been a very exciting 6 weeks, and the team. But we got what we wanted. We've learned a lot in the process, which is what is most important to us in ARM. A lot of us have learned a lot working with TVC and the founders on this program. And to all our investors, our clients, our collaborators, we say a big thank you, because you're the reason we're able to come in here and stand and do this with you. We've partnered with a lot of people, our clients, our vendors. It's been really, really great having you on the team. And we say a big thank you for always believing in ARM. And on that note, I say thank you so much and have a great evening.
Time for group pictures. Who is gonna organize? Should I organize? Wakizi. Okay. So to our guests, there are refreshments right outside. So please, you can go ahead and start eating and enjoying the refreshments available. While the founders, please stay behind. It'll be great if you could take pictures with the team as we start a new chapter in your businesses. Oh yeah, and my special guests, Andrew and Munir, please step forward.
So there is a code that you can scan if you're an investor and you may not have time. So what we've done is we provided refreshments outside, provided a social environment for you to interact more with the startups. Please feel free to engage anyone that you're interested in. If you do not have time to do that, you can please just scan that code and we could set up meetings with the founders. If you feel that you may not be able to have that interaction with the founders today, please feel free to fill that form and let us know, and we'll set up meetings with you and founders. So I'll hand you back to Mudupe.
Okay, group photos, founders. Sorry, guests. Munir and Andrew, sorry. With Sadiq, Uche, TD, Ina.
Nice to meet you. Great job.
Founders. Out. Let's check out. Yeah. Side pictures. Yeah, side pictures.
Okay, we use. Okay.
We're also tall.